Hello. Hey, hi everyone. Welcome back to Skills for Chasers. I hope you all have gone through the previous videos where we have talked about how we use the Power Query editor for cleaning and transformation of the data. In this session, we are going to take the things forward and we are going to talk about a very important topic, which is pivot and unpivot. Now, this topic is also very important for those people who are planning to give their PL300 certification, because for sure, there is going to be one or two questions which will actually ask you what pivot and unpivot is, and they will give you a practical scenario where you will have to use one of these options. So before we get started, first of all, let's understand what exactly pivot and unpivot is all about. Let's all have a look at this data over here. You will notice I have given you two snapshots of the data. One snapshot is over here, and this is the second snapshot. See, when we use data in any of our softwares, whether you are using Power BI, Tableau, Python, any of the softwares you use it, there is a standard format that machines can read the data in, right? So maybe, when you load the data, so what will happen is probably all the data will be loaded. But what will happen is every sort of data is not going to help you to be usable for doing or deriving insights or analysis out of it. When you take a look on this data, you will see we have one column of country, we have one column of gender, and we have one column of sales. So you will notice that for each type of data, we have a designated column for that. I can see all the genders are in one column, all the sales are in one column. So this particular data is actually a machine readable data. Now, this is a data which you can actually use to quickly drag and drop and understand how much are the sales which happen for males and females, how much sale happened in the different countries. So you will be able to identify all those analysis very quickly by simply dragging and dropping this data. But when you take a look on this data, you will notice it is actually the same data which I have just transformed it so that you all can understand it up what the structure of the data means. Here you will notice we have one column of country, and gender male and female is something which is broken into two different columns. Correct? You will see two different columns over here. So what is happening is we have three columns over here in the table. So as a result of which, probably if you load this data in Power BI, you will be sorted. The data will get loaded. But if you have to analyze what is the total sales done by males or females, you want to make a chart and you want to see comparison across the country's total sales of males and females, you will actually not be able to do it. Because one type of data is actually getting broken into two columns, and it can be into multiple other columns as well. For example, if you have the data of some multiple years, how much sale happened across the countries in different year, and each year is given to you in a different column, you will actually not be able to use that data up. So this is where what happen is we have pivoting and unpivoting that is needed. So both of these options have their own use cases. So we will start talking about the first scenario, which is called as unpivot. See, unpivot is the concept where what you do is you convert the data which is into multiple columns into the rows. So just taking the previous example back, if suppose the data that is given to you is in this format, where the gender is given to you in different columns, so what we will do in that case is we will do the unpivoting of the data so that the genders come in one column and the sales for them comes in a separate column over here. So let's see this thing practically. How do we do this up? I'm here onto my Power BI desktop now, and I have prepared that data in one of the Excel files already. So where you will notice the data is in this format, and I would like to convert it by unpivoting into this format. So what we can do is I can copy this data up. And if I go to Power BI desktop, I can click on enter data. So we have this option of enter data where you can actually create the tables by typing the data in as well. And I'll just say Control V, all my data is pasted. Let's give this table a name as unpivot so that we can actually relate to it. And load. So here we can see the data has been loaded now. If I expand it, see, I can see all the three columns. Let's try this out. For example, I want to see what was the total sales done by male versus female, and I want to make a column chart. Now I will struggle in order to build it up. See, if I bring this table and I bring female, this is going to give me the female count, the total sales done by female. If I bring the male, that data will come over here like this. So you can see this column that I have created is just showing the data in this format where the data is, kind of coming one above the another. Or maybe if I change it to a different chart as well, this is how the data looks like to me. But this is something I was not expecting, right? Because I would like to have a proper bar of male with a distance between them and a bar of female. And if suppose that data is of years, you have, say, suppose 20 columns with 20 different years, you will actually have to drag all the columns in one by one into this y-axis, and you will be actually stuck. So let's see what happens if I quickly unpivot this data, and let's see how it impacts our analysis. So we'll go in the transform data. So I can see this is male and female. So now where will you find this option of pivoting and unpivoting? You have to come under the section of transform. So when you come under the section of transform, you will see many of the options are kind of coming from the home tab itself, like group by, use first row as header, replace values, something which we have discussed in our previous sessions as well. Now here you will find these two options of pivot column and unpivot column. So how do we use unpivot as? I will first of all select the two columns which I want to really unpivot, that is male and female. So you can use control key like to make multiple selections. See, like if I select the male, then I have to press control key to select the female. And then I simply click on unpivot columns. And there we are. So you can see the data has been unpivoted with just one click. I am able to bring the data in the desired machine readable format. I will rename it. I'll call it as the gender. And this I'll call it as sales. And I'll go on home tab and I will click on close and apply. And my data is ready. Okay, so this chart definitely will go distorted because the columns have been modified. So let's remove this and let's see how this chart looks like if I bring gender in the x-axis, sales on the y-axis, and there we are. See, I have a clear distinction, male and female, and my chart is getting properly created over here now. So this is what the concept of unpivoting is. The next concept that we have is that is called as pivoting of the data. See, now if you all take a look on this data right now, we have countries and we have a column of KPI. So in the KPI, sales, profit. So sale is this, profit is this. Sale is this, profit is this. Now, technically what is happening is two different KPIs are actually given to me in one single column. Correct? So as a result of which now again, if I have to analyze the data, so I will not be able to do it. So I have to bring these rows into columns. So I have to modify this data something like this, where I should have countries in one column and respective sales in the next column and profit in the third column. Now that's where if I have to compare sales versus profit, I have to see sales and profit by different countries. I have to apply filters. I will be able to do each and everything. Let's go back and create another table over here. I'll click on enter data. So I already have this data with me in one of my Excel. So I'm going to copy this data from my Excel and we'll make this another table over here. And let's call this table as pivot. Now we already know what is the challenge that we have with this data. I can simply click on edit. So we can directly jump on to the transform data window. So over here, the challenge that we have is sales and profit. They are coming in one column. So all that information that we have row wise, we have to convert into columns. How we do that? I will select my column of KPI. I'll go into my transform tab. And here we have this option of pivot column. So in pivoting, what happens is you select that column, click on pivot column. And Power BI is going to ask you against when that, that column comes into multiple columns now, what values have to be reflected in the rows. And that is going to be my values, which was already given to me in the data in the third column. And I'll click on OK. And there it is. So we have our country, sales, and profit. So that's how we have been able to convert our non-machine readable data into machine readable data by understanding where to use the concept of pivot and where to use unpivot. So let's click on close and apply, and our data is ready. So that's all what we have in this video, everyone. I hope you all would have learned and enjoyed watching this video. So keep liking and subscribing for more such videos. Thank you, everyone. See you in the next lecture.